My name is Mackenzie. Welcome back to my channel, and thank you so much for being here. Today we are doing another reading vlog. We are finally going to actually finish the Paola Santiago trilogy. I have the final 2 books. So book 2 is Paola Santiago and the Forrest of Nightmares, and 3 is Paola Santiago and the Sanctuary of Shadows. And I am so excited. If you have been here since the beginning, not the first, but in the first year of me, the first calendar year, let's put all of the qualifiers on there, Mackenzie, of me making booktube videos, I read Paola Santiago in the River of Tears, and I absolutely loved it. It did something for me that I didn't realize that I needed, which was to see the Latin side of myself represented in books. And Paola is such a sweet, messy, precocious is a great word for Paola. I loved her. I love the idea behind all of these Latin American myths coming true about how she's so scientific, and to have myths and stories that her mother told her growing up come to life was very scary. It gave great, like kind of like found family, but more so a growing care and protection of your friends, even when they're being irritating little boys, and I loved it. So I'm very excited to follow her again in these next 2 books. Forrest of Nightmares. So it looks like in this one, Paola is kind of feeling alone after the adventures that she's had. Oh, let's stop right here. Spoilers. Spoilers for this one, spoilers for this one, and hey, spoilers for this one. I'll try not to give any spoilers for Percy Jackson, even though I know I'm probably going to be comparing these a little bit to Percy Jackson, mainly because they're part of the Riordan imprint series, and so they're going to have that feel anyway. What's great about these, I feel, is that they do give that Percy Jackson vibe where it's adventurous and things are happening and we're moving and it's an excitement all the way through to the end. I've been speaking with some of the kids at work who have read Percy Jackson, and that's really what they enjoy. They want it to keep going and be adventurous and not be so boring. And I think that's what steers kids away from reading books is it gets boring. They don't care about real life. They want adventure. And hey, me too. So in this one, she is going to be investigating her father. He is, I guess, missing. I didn't realize. Or it doesn't say that he's missing, just that she is on the search for him. And she encounters new monsters and ghosts and a devastating betrayal, and finally the forest of her nightmares, because Paola is having nightmares again. She had them in this one when La Llorona was trying to kill everybody, and now she's having them again even after defeating La Llorona. So in this one, we also had Paola also has a chupacabra puppy, which is adorable. In this one, they have this, like, not gang, but like I very much am akinning them to the Hunters of Artemis, and they basically just hunt these things. And Paola almost lost her best friend and guy that she's kind of having feelings for the first time because puberty is a bitch, Dante. He almost left to go run away with them, and she was like, don't you fucking dare. And then also he nearly died, and she was like, don't you fucking dare, like, I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about you, you're not allowed to die yet. And girl, I feel you. So now we're on to this one, and I wonder what role the Hijas is going to play in this. I think I'm going to get the audiobook for these, so that way I can pronounce things correctly and with the right intonation, I guess, when I'm talking to you guys. So wish me luck. This one feels pretty short. It feels shorter than the first and the third, which is interesting for a middle book to do. So I think what I'll do is I will check in with you, oh perfect, at chapter 6, because that's like the 50-page mark, and I think that that's a good amount of time to tell you like more plot. And then I will check in with you, perfect, chapter 20, which is page 186, which is middle enough to get more of like a good flow with you guys, and then I'll check in again at the end of this book, and then we will talk about my feelings. They're probably going to be great. You know what's great is I don't feel like I'm going to hate this at all. Not at all. I'm very excited. Well, let's talk about this really quickly. So I read exactly where I said I would, and I didn't read any more, even though I really, really wanted to. So the first couple of chapters of this book are triggering, only in the sense that, like, could she not have the same issues happening with her mom that I had with my mom? Like, it's very honest and open and too real. Too real. You know how you read a middle grade and, like, a lot of the world is not as awful as it is because middle grade and it's for younger kids? Well, even though Paola's, like, in 7th grade, like, we have conversations, my friend, about how she is the adult for her mom and she's had to grow up so fast, and then not to mention her cultural socioeconomic standing, and how having a white friend is really difficult because of that, because she just doesn't really understand or get a lot of things, and Paola feels left out of friend groups because of it. It's so interesting and so good, and Dante is starting to blame Paola for his grandma. It seems as if she's having dementia mixed with some sort of magical malady. So she is forgetting things, but also trying to tell Paola that somebody's after her, somebody's looking for her, and they're not going to stop until they find her. And she gets taken to the hospital, and Dante's like, I blame you, Paola, because if you weren't the dreamer and you weren't the chosen one, then my grandma would be fine. And it's like, I get that because Dante's grandma is all he has, but their friend was missing. Emma was gone. What did he expect anybody to do? What would he have not done? And also, if we remember in book 1, Dante was all about, like, yeah, let's go be a Niña de la Luz and just fight forever and, like, never go back to your grandma anyway. But now you want to blame Paola. Okay, fine, whatever. But it feels like this is more so going to be a Paola and Emma journey, which is really cool because we didn't get to see a lot of her last book. There was a moment where it seemed like Emma and Paola were fighting, or they were just kind of on the outs, but they resolved that very quickly within that same chapter or the very next chapter. So still really good. I'm really excited to keep going. It's really sweet and cute, and I can't wait for the adventure to actually start, and it feels like it's about to. I'm so irritated. He's so irritating. Dante is so irritating. So I'm where I said I'd be. I'm right here, chapter 20. I officially have a tab. It is titled, typically my tabs are like references the past book, this plot, themes, and now we have fuckboy Dante, because literally I'm over it. First of all, after being obsessed with the magical monster hunter kids in book 1, now all of a sudden He is upset with Paola. She's the reason they went on that adventure. She's the reason that they went to go find Emma. She's the reason they got involved with those children in the first place. And apparently he's also blaming Paola for his grandma having Alzheimer's and getting worse. Excuse me. That's like a real disease, even if it wasn't just like also a magical malady that's happening. Her having Alzheimer's has nothing to do with being magical, Paula's adventure last year, nothing. But he's just gonna go on and be a butthurt little bitch about it for like the whole book and not be a good friend. This boy better be fucking manipulated because I'm done. Paola's done. We're done. And I'm so angry at him. How dare he hurt Paola like that? She's done nothing to him. I'm so angry. So that's where we've left off, with Dante unleashing the phantasma that Paola put away and killed his dad. He unleashed it, so that way she would have to fight it, and he ran away from her. And he's also slightly insinuating that Paola's dad is like a monster, or like the king of monsters or something like that. Because he's like, why are you the hero? I'm the one who has the awful backstory, and I'm the one who does this, and you're just a villain. He says awful shit-eater things. I hate him. He's such a douchebag. I'm the one with the childhood grudge. I have the grandma with the mysterious powers and a history with the niños. I have the club. And yet you're the hero? Why? I'm about to slap a child. And then he's like, my abuela is a former member of Los Niños de la Luz who handed down the arma de alma to me. The weapon is the only reason we got out alive last summer. You know that, right? While Dante took that weapon and got fucking captured by La Llorona. But fine, and Paola even says it's not the only reason, and she thinks, hadn't she been the one who made it through the rift, fought her way through the ruins outside the glass palace to find him, forged a connection with Ondina, and used it to defeat one of the most feared phantasmas of all time? There is nothing more irritating than children growing up. I think, and having to read about that, because it really does feel like he's being either like manipulated or something like that. I do think that Paola's dad might be some version of a let's put this book down. Some version of a phantasma, or like some evil kind of mysterious person. It makes sense with the kind of person that Paola's mom was, at least in book one. In this book, she's, I don't know, gentrifying herself or something. I'm hating that also. It also kind of makes sense why she has, like, the nightmares that she does and is connected to a lot of these phantasmas, why she has the El Chupacabra puppy, why it doesn't really mess with her, and why she tends to kind of know what to do with a lot of these things. So I think that that's an interesting part to bring up, and absolutely I'm ready to explore that. I'm ready for Dante to just get the fuck out of the picture. I was really hoping that we were going to get more of like an Emma, Paola, like fun little romp. But no, we're getting Paola and Dante again, and again, he's irritating the fuck out of me. Not as much as book one, because in book one he was just like, you know, a boy. But in this one, he's like a cruel ass motherfucker. And it's rude. Like, stop being mean to my girl Pao, okay? Be nice to her. I've got like about 180-ish pages left of this, which is pretty exciting. So I'll see you at the end of this one. got none of that on camera. My cat jumped out of there. I hit my funny bone on my knee like a fool, like a downright fool. And it hurts so bad like funny bones do. Okay. Hi! I finished this absolute work of genius. I loved it. It was so sweet. It was so cute. You know what? I really appreciate a lot of the conversations that Tehlor K. Mejia has in these books, in Paola's books. Like, there's a lot more than just, like he gives, it's like middle grade with an edge, but, like, only because I read, like, super soft, cushy, white privileged middle grade. But she writes a real experience. So there's a lot of talk about Paola feeling like ostracized because her friend Emma's, is it Emma? Yeah. Her friend Emma's new friends, the Rainbow Rogues, is a group of basically white kids. But, you know, they're using their privilege, but Paola, like, consistently is, like, slightly making fun of her because she's, you know, privileged. And she's, like, learning about treating others with care. There are also conversations of, like, you know, when Diego? Who? Wait. Dante. There are also conversations about how Dante's grandmother needed medical care, but she's like, I don't know if she's even a legal citizen. Like, how could I take her, like, call an ambulance if she's not legal? Like, what are they gonna do? Those are important conversations to have. And I also feel like there was a lot of good conversation about, like, what it's like being a teenager and your mom kind of starts changing because of boyfriends. I will say that was, while completely in line with my own personal experiences about my mom getting new boyfriends and how her personality would change with each boyfriend. Like, some part of me wants to or has to believe that is not just normal human behavior, but, like, how can I say that when that was my exact experience? Anyways, moving on from my trauma, I also really enjoyed how Mejia kind of took a risk. I don't know how much of a risk it was because I really enjoyed it, but it was definitely a risk for middle grade because I feel like this is the first time I've seen... No! Book also did that. I'm not going to tell you whose book because I think it's a slight spoiler in case you haven't read it. There is a sequel, but in case you haven't read the first one, I don't want to spoil it. So I'm not going to tell you whose book, but similar situations. And I feel like it's kind of a cool thing that's happening in middle grade now, giving that age group a set of, like, almost like gray characters? Is that what it's called? Anti-heroes. It was a great ending, by the way. So basically, we realize we go and we fight in a glass castle, and that's what I saw imagery-wise in my head, and it was great. And Naomi was there, and she was there the whole time, and she, like, basically came out to Paola, and she was also like, you need to not give hero boy so much place in your heart, especially if you don't like him like that. Like, don't pretend you like someone like that just to keep them close. You can keep them close, but you don't have to do it by, like, pretending you want to be with them in a way you don't. Which was such a cute little speech. I loved it. So they realize that Paola's dad is Beto, who is the second son of La Llorona. If we remember in the first book, La Llorona was kidnapping children so that way she could find a soul match for her children. So she had 3 children that she drowned, 2 boys and a girl. And she had already successfully transplanted a soul in this book into her second son, Beto, but he was ungrateful. And that was kind of like a running theme throughout the whole thing, that her second son was so ungrateful for the gift that she had given him and everything else. And so now they were trying to find a soul match for her daughter. I forgot her name. But that was this. So now we realize that Paola's dad was Beto, and after La Llorona had given him his new soul, he was like, great, how dare you do this to me? Because I didn't ask for this, and now I have to live with this, and I'm so upset. And so he ran away to the human world, changed his name, went off to be Paola's dad for a little bit. Unbeknownst to him, that the soul that was implanted into him is like pissed and like still there and taking control, and so he is alternating between Beto and the other soul that's in his body, and the other soul is trying to like kill everyone because he can't kill La Llorona because Paola set La Llorona free in book 1. So he's like, you set her free, so if I can't kill her, I'm gonna kill the world. And Paola was like, that's a bad idea, and he was like, I don't care. So that's what was happening. And then Paola saved the day along with Daddy Dearest and basically like pushed the soul out of his body so that way he was just like a normal spirit. And then Paola used her great awesome alma de arma and like kicked his butt out of this realm, and then Paola's dad actually got to stay being alive, and that was great. And that's when we found out that Mr. Dante, I keep wanting to call him Diego, Mr. Dante is stuck in the void. And then Paola was trying to tell his grandma, like, I'm sorry, Dante's stuck in the void. And I'm trying, but I don't know how to get him back. And she's like, you know what? My grandson made his choices. And I was like, damn, he did make his choices. Because it was the other soul in Beto's body that was kind of like manipulating Dante, but not really. All he really said was who Paola's real father was trying to get him to do other things, like lead her astray and make her feel lonely, like she had no friends, and it would make her easier to get and kill to then power up the machine he was going to use to kill the world. Because it wasn't enough that in killing everyone he would also kill Paola. He needed Paola, obviously, to power up his machine to kill the world. Obviously. So that was that book, and I really enjoyed it. So right now we are at the end, and I don't know if they're going to talk about Paola's sexuality at all, but like my fingers are crossed for her and Emma to get together because that's cute as shit. And I really, 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 really hope that this one is going to have more Emma in it. So it looks like this book is going to focus on rescuing Dante from the void. I mean, obviously, where were they going to go with that? Leave that child to die to the void? I mean, children did die in this one, but like they're not going to kill a main character, at least one of the main character's pals. So she's not having any more prophetic dreams, which is cool because they were very like dangerous to her. Well, not dangerous, but like they scared her. So now she has to figure out a new way of figuring out how to enter the void, and she's gonna go to Texas. Great. We hate a Texas moment. Oh my god, yes. It's gonna be an Emma and Paola adventure because she is hitching a ride with the Rainbow Rogues who are planning a bus trip to New Orleans, and Texas is on the way. I don't know geography, so probably, maybe. I'm so excited. With the emotional support of her best friend and help from unexpected allies, Pao makes it into the void. Once there, she must face down the biggest bad of all and someone even scarier who looks a lot like Pao herself. What? It might be Pao's shadow self? What if it's like, so if this has been all about La Llorona and Beto was the one in this shadow. That's Beto. So, like, what if this is just Paola's shadow self? Her Yami, if you will. Enough meandering. I will check in with you at about... Not about. I will check in with you right here. Because, is that a net? Oh, no, that's her staff. So, I will check in with you right here. And we will talk a little bit about what's going on and how the adventure's going. And, yeah. I was nearly 100% positive that I updated you here. And I can't find that footage. I can't find it anywhere. So if I find it in between me filming and me editing, I'll put it in right here. If I'm still here, that means that I did not find the footage. And that totally blows. Because I am now officially here, and the story is nearly over, and I've loved it, and I've had great things to say, and I guess since I'm still here, I'm going to try and recall all of the things. The story opens with Paola training with the Niños de la Luz, and they are, batting around a dummy because there's not much to do. What's-his-face, Franco, who is working on a machine to try and figure out where the next rift will be so that way they can find Dante. And at first, Paola was helping them because she was still kind of having dreams and connecting. And then, after telling them where a rift was going to be, and them finding no evidence of it, they stopped kind of believing her, it seemed, she felt like. And also, she began being left out. They started leaving her out, basically. And she is like, I've grown up a lot. I've fought demons and I just want to help. I want to get my friend back. And they're like, go be 13. She's like, I don't know what that means. I don't know how to be 13. I just know how to be Paola. And Paola is a demon hunter, and it's awesome. She has this dream of someone, and when she has this dream, she's not seeing them, she is them, and she's feeling their feelings, and she also is closing the rifts in the dream. And so she knows where the next rift is going to be, or the last rift is going to be where the person is closing them. So she decides to try and get there. And Emma happens to be going on a trip with her rainbow rose, and they are passing through that town. So she's like, come with us. We'll drop you off. It'll be a great time. I get to be more than the man in the chair in the background helping you out. That was what happened by chapter 7. By chapter 13, the world exploded. 19, I'm sorry. The world exploded. Paola and Emma, I was totally fucking right. I did get lesbian vibes. It was great. I really enjoyed it because Paola is consistently questioning her identity. All of the Rainbow Rogues are on the LGBTQ plus spectrum, and so they all have an identity, and none of them that she meets in this story are uncertain of what their identity is. And so she's just like, well, I really don't know. And she's confused because she did like Dante, or maybe she didn't like Dante, or maybe, thought she did, but she really didn't like it romantically. And maybe she does like Emma, and how is she supposed to know? And then they brought up Catra and Adora from She-Ra, the Princesses of Power, and I literally screamed. And I was just having such a lovely time. And then there's Kit, who does like Emma, and Emma doesn't like Kit, but she kind of does, when people flirt with you, and even if you don't really like them, it's like, oh my gosh, blush. Then the demons end up infiltrating the camp counselors, and so Pao runs away with Emma and Kit and another girl. I forget her name entirely, honest. I don't know what her name is. I can't find it. Anyways, so they leave. They drive away and they go to San Antonio, right? So on their little adventure journey, they run in to the actual bad guy, the person that Pao has been dreaming of. And guess what? It's Pao. It's a clone of Pao. It's like a shadow Pao. And then they realize that if Pao goes into the rift, her master, the Shadow Pao's master, will mistake real Pao for the clone. The master does. And we find out the master is El Kakui, the boogeyman. And he found La Llorona's machine about transporting souls into bodies. Basically, he's going to make clones of people. They don't even have to be dead before he makes the clone. So he's making these clones, and he's going to put demon souls in them and send them to Earth to infiltrate and be awful. And Pao's like, no. So she finds Dante in a cell, and she convinces Dante that she remembers, or that she's the real Pao because of the first time that she beat him at Mario Kart, and that was adorable. And Pao's like, okay, let's go get my dad and the Niños, and that's where we ended. So that's where we are. So I'm really excited. It'll be great fun. Pao is now in tune with her magic. It was such a cute, lovely little, identity crisis, because she's like confused about her own feelings, like her sexual identity, but she's also confused about like her own identity, like what does it mean to be Pau. And then the best part of this whole book ever, because her whole big struggle is being La Llorona's granddaughter, and she's like, okay, this mystical magical place that I love and this magic that I do is great, but it comes from her. And so how can I be good if I'm using it like her? How can I be good? It's all about generational trauma and curses and breaking the cycle. The best quote ever is, good is not who you are, it's what you do. And I am literally healing my inner child with every single one of these books that I pick up and read. I can't even stop it. First book dealt with mommy issues. Second book kind of dealt with daddy issues. And now our third book is dealing with generational curses, trauma, and breaking the cycle. At first I was thinking that this book didn't fit in with the first two books, because the first two books are really like La Llorona's the bad guy, and then her son Beto is the bad guy. But not Beto, but like the soul that was living inside of Beto's body was the bad guy. But it was all still tied to La Llorona. But then we have the boogeyman, and he's only tied to La Llorona because he found her machine to do the thing he wants to do. But really, what this is all about is familial issues, and each book dealing with that in the order in which that somebody would start to deal with their issues. Their parental issues, the one that was there, and then the one that wasn't there, and dealing with those issues, and then your generational trauma. Holy shit. It's been a wild ride, and I've been emotional the whole time about it. So I hope you liked this very blue update. I will see you at the end of this lovely novel, and good googly moogly. It's gonna be over after this, but I know I read the last line, so I know it's gonna be okay, but it's bittersweet, I finished it. And yes, I cried. I cried a lot, actually. And I was crying so much that I just couldn't put it on camera. Like, it was ugly crying. It was a lot of ugly crying. Okay? I could not handle it. And the way that everything came around, full circle, the way it felt like originally going into this book that this one wasn't going to feel like a part of this series, but perfectly ties everything back together again, and also makes it make sense for why it's ending here and we're not going to continue on, why Paola will now be able to be 13 and live their lives. I think that this was so fucking amazing. I remember reading Percy Jackson and thinking like, wow, nothing is going to compare. And then like realizing that these imprints were going to come out, and like some of them are good, some of them are great. And like that is just so amazing to me. This was so good. And what's great is that I feel like while there is a blueprint to follow to make it part of like the Rick Riordan imprint, the Rick Riordan Presents imprint, it still allows for so much leeway of what could happen and where their stories could go and what themes we could be talking about that may be the same or different or unique to this culture. And I just am so blown away. This was excellent. This was astounding. This was adorable. It was excellent. I loved this. I think it was wonderful. I do feel like a lot of the smaller plot points do kind of get lost for me. When I think back on this book, I think about all of the emotional moments for me, and like I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so how did it end? I know it ended, and I know how it ended, but like to put them into words instead of me just making sobbing noises, I have to take a pause to figure out what exactly happened there. But I think it was really well done. I think it was a really important story to share, and I really enjoy the conversation in this one. It started in book 1 and it culminates in here about what is the opposite of fear. When you're so afraid, how do you combat that? What are you supposed to do? What is the antidote to fear? And I love that the answer is community. How loving and caring for the people in your community does mean that you fear for them, but it also means that you have hope because everyone's fighting the same battle. And what matters to you matters to them. And even if you are not there to carry on the fight, someone else is going to be. And then when it's all over, you're all together. No one is alone. And I have literal goosebumps. I don't know if you can tell, but I have goosebumps. I love this. This is important. This is necessary. This is something I am going to purchase for my work so that way the kids at my work can read it. And I think that it does a lot for middle grade just in general. It opened my eyes to what middle grade can do and what conversations you can have in a middle grade that make sense to kids of that age group. And I think that it is important to bring them into the fold because what was the line? Hang on. There was a line. That's the beauty of being human. We may not change much on our own. We're stubborn that way. But when we connect with others, when we form bonds, change isn't only possible, it's inevitable. I have goosebumps, and I think that connecting to kids and not making them feel like they have no right to be a part of conversations that affect them and their world in their community. We only suffer for that. By connecting with everybody and giving everybody a voice, every person who is affected in a community and giving them a voice and allowing them to help is a huge, huge game changer. And I think that that was a lot about what this story was about as well, is that while you may be young, if you have plans, it doesn't matter what your age is. If you think that you can bring change, you should do what you can to do that. And oh my God, I'm gonna cry. It's so good. And I just love it. And it was amazing. And it was a great way to culminate and end the series. So thus ends our reading experience of the Paola Santiago trilogy. This was a great story collection about Hispanic heritage and culture and family and trauma and enduring and changing and growing, and it was great and lovely and beautiful. And I think that this had much more of an emphasis, while the Percy Jackson series I feel like had a huge emphasis on the mythos of everything. This really much more so focused on community and family and those bonds that you create with people and what that means to you and how it changes you and how you grow into them. I recommend all of these books to you or the child in your life. So that will end the vlog here. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!